Black Monday came and went, and a little bit of surprise, not so much. But the one surprise that wasn't that never occurred because it wasn't a surprise at all, at least to me, was Matt Eberflus. Of course, he was fired after Thanksgiving. We all knew his uh, time in Chicago was less than rosy, and we can sit there and say, "Well, you don't have his quarterback." Doesn't matter. Some people are made to be coordinators. Some people are made to be coaches. That's it. Now, this list of Bears head coaches, the ones they are interviewing, according to Colin Cowherd, is 13 people. 13. That's way too many people. And I'm sorry. Look, nothing against a guy named Anthony Weaver, but they're right. Like, I never watched the Dolphins thinking, wow, that defense is legendary. Someone needs to hire this man immediately or they're going to lose their shot at a legend. No, wrong. The Chicago Bears are such a storied franchise. There is only one person out there that they need to focus on, and one person alone they need to jump on, and that's Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel did so much to be able to turn the Titans into a winning franchise after having Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. Now, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Caleb Williams yet, but I mean, the dude is obviously going to be special in the NFL. He has shown glimpses of it. And yeah, he has his troubles, but it's going to take some time. He was a rookie quarterback. Not everybody can be Jay Daniels. But when you come into a situation where your defense has a pretty, not stellar secondary, but something to build on the defensive side of the ball. And then you invested all of these all these resources into weapons to surround Caleb Williams for his first year. Why would you do anything but play around and get a coordinator who's going to be the first time head coach in order to mess this thing up? If anybody needs to get this right, it is the Chicago Bears. Folks, we're back again. 2 weeks off. I got the game on. I'm standing on my feet. I feel like Elton John. I'm still standing. This is Box Scores and Bourbon.
Look at the box scores.
Box scores
and bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
Baseball, box scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
Manny, let's cheers ourselves
JB?
in before we get in.
Cheers. Clink.
Cheers.
Clink.
Clink.
Clink. Happy New Year's to everybody.
Happy New Year's
are
to
back.
everyone.
We are back after a little hiatus based off of personal schedules that conflicted with the holidays, but we are here. We're ready to roll, and we are ready to talk more sports than ever before because we have multi-playoffs in full speed ahead.
Yep.
JB,
yes, we do.
First off, how were your holidays?
Holidays were good. Christmas was quiet. We didn't have the kids for this Christmas. We had them for the second half of their winter break. The wife and I took all 5 kids to Scottsdale, Arizona, to Great Wolf Lodge. Anyone who's never done it before, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. We'll do it again. And we also provided an all-expense-paid trip to my parents to go out there with us, flights, room, everything. And then
you like to spoil your parents.
I do. They were the other part of the surprise for our 5 kids. So that was also really fun for that to happen. And it was a really great time. I would not recommend driving 7 hours straight. Wouldn't do it.
Nope.
But
don't do that.
Sometimes it has to be done. And I'm just glad we got home. Manny, how was y'all's holiday?
My holidays were good. Christmas was full with family on both my partner's side and my family's side. We got to throw a little Christmas party, and then we were spontaneous and went and did a little drive to Denver for New Year's Eve and got to celebrate out there, but just the two of us. So They were great.
Nice.
We always are about all the vacations. I think the reason that we ended up not filming was because both you and I were out of town, so we were
Yeah.
not connected to the interweb. So
Yep.
yeah,
Very true.
but it was a good time. I'm glad that we're back. We are back and ready to roll just in
Yes.
time for the great thing that we love to talk about, which is sports, football, and playoffs. So let's jump right into our playoffs and our football talks because we have
Yeah.
2 leagues to talk about. And
Yeah.
let's talk about the first one, which is the one that is closer to the finish line than the other. Let's jump right into some college football. JB,
Yeah.
last time we talked,
Mm-hmm.
we made our predictions for the
Yep.
quarterfinals, and one of us was more on point than the other one of us, and I refuse to give you any credit, but I will I will say that one of us was a little bit more wrong, one of us was a little bit more right. But let me just start by saying okay, you and I always will sit here and put a lot of the blame, a lot of the pressure on coaching. Is that not right? We always hold coaches to a higher standard than players. We hold a lot of the responsibility on what coaches are able to do and how they can figure schemes out. And I sat here and thought that Georgia's coaches were actually going to be able to pull out a great game, no matter the fact that they had a first-time starter since
Yeah.
When was the last time their starter started a game? I think he was in high school in 2019. So
Yeah.
shame
Been a
on me
minute.
because I really gave the coaching staff too much credit for being able to figure that out. And after what I saw from that game, I realized that, you know what? It does take a lot of the players'
Yeah.
experience and a lot of
Yeah.
multifaceted components to really make a good game. So
Yeah.
shame on me for being wrong on that one, but
Yeah.
I'll take the loss on that. I'll take
Also,
my L.
also
I know
shame
how to
on you
accept
for
it.
putting it in my head not to take Notre Dame over Georgia, which we have the proof. I did for 5 minutes stated why Notre Dame
You
was going to
did.
beat Georgia, and we moved on. And I said, "Wait, I changed my mind. Georgia's going to
You
win this
did.
game." And
But I
I
also
was
said,
wrong.
don't let me influence you. I said, don't let me influence you. You stick to your guns, and you couldn't stick
Yeah,
to your guns. So that falls on you.
yeah.
But
There
hey,
was a
your gut was right.
at Great Wolf Lodge. There's if you've never been, they have a jungle gym. There's a dry side and a wet side. So they have a jungle gym, an arcade, and all that jazz inside. It's a 3-story jungle gym. It's impressive. And then you go to the water
Yeah.
park, and it's like even more impressive. There's a bar in the middle of the water park because nothing speaks parental responsibility than getting drunk while your children are in the water. But there is a bar
Or on
there.
a
I didn't
3-story
partake in
facility.
anything, but the games were on, and I was watching this Notre Dame Georgia game, and I'm like, oh man, screw me for not sticking
Yeah.
with my gut. I knew it,
Yeah.
and I knew it because I thought that if there was ever an opportunity for Notre Dame to shine against one of these quarterbacks in the playoffs, it was going to be against the first timer. And Gunnar Stockton, he didn't play bad. He actually played quite well, but he got pressured
Ugh.
consistently. He honestly didn't play bad, but he got pressured
I
so
don't
much,
agree.
and he was on the ground, and he was running for his life so often that I knew in my heart of hearts that was going to be something that was going to play into this. He didn't turn the ball over, so and he was hitting his marks, but he was under constant pressure the entire time, and well done for Notre Dame for getting here. I think last night, it was last night. I posted our takes on who was going
Yep.
to win, who was going to get
Yep.
where. We both
Mhm.
are steady. We both have Ohio State and Penn State in the Natty. I can tell you this. Here's the funny thing, is that all that back and forth I did with Notre Dame's going to beat Georgia, and then at the last second, no, Georgia's going to do it. I believe in them. And then after watching Boise State play Penn State and the amount of pressure that they put on Drew Aller, and watching how Notre Dame's defense did the same thing to Gunnar Stockton, I was like, it'll probably come to fruition where we're going to watch this game and Notre Dame's defense is going to put that pressure on Drew Aller. And the great thing is that Penn State has taken that opportunity away from Notre Dame so far. They had
Yeah.
a 90-yard drive, and they ran 14 plays. 13 or 14 of them were on the ground. So this is I believe this is something Penn State was going to kind of audible to, and which is why I picked Penn State to beat Notre Dame. I picked it to be a close game, not a widespread game like I originally thought when I first saw these two coming head to head. But
Yeah.
it's a great game so far, and it looks as if it's going to go the way that we've picked it. But it's halftime now,
Yep.
10-3 Penn State.
Yeah. So here's my thing about the way that the Notre Dame and Georgia game went. It seemed like their quarterback was definitely exposed for the lack of experience, because from what I was constantly noticing was that he had no gauge of what was going on around him. He knew how to read a field. He knew how to go through his progressions and knew how to look for his receivers. But what he had no gauge on was the pressure that was going on around him in the trenches. Too
Yeah.
many times I saw him getting pressured and sacked on his blind side because he just didn't have that internal clock
Yeah. Mhm.
to get rid of the ball sooner than that half a second that
Yeah.
it took for that defender to get to him. That was the part where I was shaking my head just now when I was disagreeing with you that he played a good game. You partially, yes, he did play a good game, but part of the position of as a quarterback is being able to have that internal clock to be able to realize when your pocket is no longer there and either throw the ball away, do your check down, or take a shot. Whatever you see, you have to have that
Yeah.
quick trigger. And I didn't see that too often, which is why I'm saying that I don't think he played as good of a game. And honestly, we can sit here and we can judge the way he played the game, but Georgia was in that game the entire time, and that game was really decided by 3 plays, which was right before halftime. The first play was, I think, the punt return where they pinned them in they got, what was it? Like a punt return. They were in the goal line in the red zone, and they got sacked, and then they had a turnover, and then a field goal, and then a touchdown. It was 3 plays right before the halftime. Ultimately, Notre Dame ended up going into halftime scoring a touchdown after Georgia turned over the ball just right before halftime, which was they were trying to be aggressive, try to do a little too much. But it was that part of that game was telling for the way that they were trying to approach the game. I think Georgia and their coaching staff really put a lot of confidence into their quarterback. And so I think what ended up happening was that Notre Dame kicked a field goal. So they were up like 10-3 or something like that. And then Georgia tried moving the ball right before halftime. There was like 45 seconds. And then the quarterback, again, blindside sack, ended up turning the ball over, and then they took Notre Dame one play to score a touchdown right before the half. That was really the defining moment for that game. At that point,
Yeah.
if you weren't going to keep that game close, that was when the game got out of hand for Georgia.
Yeah.
So I will sit here and say the quarterback did just enough, but at the same time, it was the little things that ended up losing them the game. And I'll sit here and die on the hill that those 3 plays, when it was scored by Notre Dame, turnover by Georgia, and instantly another touchdown by Notre Dame, that is what decided the game. That if it wasn't for that, I think Georgia would have had a good chance. After that, everything started falling apart, and they ended up losing that game because they were trying to play catch up to the point where they just didn't have the explosive nature of that Georgia is used to, because their quarterback was just not doing enough. It was a ground and pound game the entire first half. Neither team was moving the ball really well. Both defenses were stepping up. Both defenses were doing a good job at shutting down the offenses. But those 3 plays right before halftime, and then Georgia now had to turn into we need to score points. That's when the wheels fell off the wagon, and that I truly believe that is when they lost the game. Even though it was not an unsurmountable lead that they had, it was too much for the type of defense that Notre Dame was playing and the type of sluggish offense that Georgia had going on that really defined that game for me. So Like I
Yeah.
said at the beginning, shame on me for thinking that Georgia had more than enough tools and more than enough key players, and their coaching staff was more experienced to push past the lack of experience on the quarterback position. But at the same time, I Notre Dame did on the defensive side. Notre Dame was
Yeah.
stellar, and I think
Yeah.
with any other opponent besides Penn State right now, I think there would be a more competitive game. But as we sit here, it's halftime and it's 10-3, so it's not like Notre Dame is completely out of it. But looking
Yeah.
at how Notre Dame's offense looked against Georgia, I am
Mhm.
not surprised that the score is right now against an offense that is a well-oiled machine, and they do have a quarterback and they do have their offensive key positions
Yeah.
moving the ball well.
Mhm.
I think that is why Notre Dame. That's why I couldn't sit here and choose Notre Dame to beat Penn State, because it went to show that if you are keeping it a close game against a backup quarterback, an inexperienced quarterback, and it was that close of a game up in
Mhm.
really 3/4 of it was a really close game against a team that had all their pieces the entire year. They weren't going to keep up with that. That is what I'm noticing at the time right now.
Yeah, and I brought this up yesterday, and kind of going back into the last round's games. When you have a young quarterback, you want to be able to rely on the run game, and Georgia gave up on that run game rather
Mm-hmm.
quickly, and more so because they were getting nothing out of it. But then by the
Right.
time that there was an opportunity for them to get back in the game, they really couldn't rely on trying to get the run game to work when it wasn't working already. And so really
Right.
putting the game on the shoulders of really your first time starter, and then seeing
Mm-hmm.
what he can do. And that's what I mean by he played a decent game. Being able to have the game on his shoulders, he didn't play bad. It wasn't a bad game. I mean, it was a learning experience, but that was the reason why I leaned toward Penn State winning this game. I've always thought Penn State was going to beat Notre Dame, but and even though I have it a lot closer than I originally thought, I always knew that
Yeah.
it was going to be because Penn State has this two-headed running attack in Allen and Singleton, and they have this they have this X factor in Ty Warren who's not only a beast at catching the ball at the tight end position, but he can run, he can throw, and and Drew Aller's got legs too. And really, if Notre Dame was going to try to do anything, they would they would they would try to stop the run game, which hasn't happened at all yet. And then
Right.
and then put the pressure on Drew Aller to be able to kind of scramble, because when he scrambles, that's when his flaws come out. That's when he's not accurate. That's when he can't get it to his receivers. So, but the more Penn State kind of stays consistent with this run game, and 141 rushing yards and a touchdown in the first half, it's a pretty good start for your run game. And so, for that
Yeah.
reason, right there, it'll stay a close game, because I think Penn State sees that, hey, let's keep the pressure off of Aller. Let's put the ball on the ground. Let's mix it up just a little bit. Let's do a little bit of RPO. But other than that, let's just run it between the tackles, and then kind of just rely on on one of our great strengths of our offense here, and
Yeah.
which is a big reason why Georgia lost that game, because the run game just didn't work out for them.
No, that's right. You're completely correct. I I think we've sat here since the beginning of the playoffs and talked about how in the big the Penn State has always been a good team that knows how to run the ball, especially with the type of defenses that they've had to encounter, and uh the type of offenses that they've had to go head to head with in the Michigan era, where Michigan was all about running the ball, and Ohio State figuring out how to run the ball and then using that run game to really open up their vertical game. I think that uh, paid off. Having that experience during the regular season and for the last 4 to 5 years during the dominance of Michigan and Ohio State, respectively, um,
Yeah,
I think that pays off for Penn State right now because they know how to play that type of game, and I
yeah.
don't think that as of right now, I'm not seeing anything that shows that Notre Dame knows how to completely keep up with a team that has
Yeah.
a well-rounded
Mhm.
ground game completely. But
Yeah.
on the other side, JB, I jumped ship. I threw a hook, jumped onto your ship, and I am sold on the Ohio State ship completely. Two-part. Ohio State looked really good on their last game, and Texas gives me the seasick stomach watching their offense
Mhm.
sputter through an entire game. I
Mhm.
cannot believe what I saw against ASU from Texas. Their offense looked overwhelmed, uncoordinated. Their
Mhm.
offense looked like they were not well equipped to keep up
Yeah.
with really anybody.
Yeah.
I sat here and said that I thought if Texas was going to find their way,
Mhm.
it was going to be a good performance by Texas and they were going to dominate ASU. Well, I'm sitting here and I did not see that against ASU, which is why I completely changed script. I am backtracking on all of my predictions. I am changing my entire bracket, and I don't like the matchup that Texas has right now
Mm-mm.
against Ohio State. I don't like what their
No.
offense has. If Ohio
Yeah.
State, if Ohio
Mhm.
State is continues to be as explosive as they were in the last two
Mhm.
games, I don't think Texas has enough to keep up at all. I did not like how Texas played. I didn't think their offense was explosive enough. I don't think they have
Yeah.
a consistent enough play
Mhm.
style. I just kudos to
Yeah.
ASU. I'll start by saying kudos to ASU because they played one hell of a game that was really
Mhm.
decided by two major plays, and one of them is a controversial play, but it should not have come down to that considering the type of season that Texas had. Because of the fact that it was such a close game against a team in ASU, which was the team that caused all the controversy with the whole reseeding in the playoffs. ASU was supposed to be the team that it was like a gimme of a matchup because they were not supposed to be as well equipped to be at have a first round bye. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, Texas, if they were struggling so much against a team that supposedly wasn't equipped to be a first round bye and they didn't deserve it, I don't see how they can keep up with a team of the caliber of Ohio State, which is why I'm jumping ship. I don't believe I'm done with whatever the heck Texas has built. I don't believe in Texas's offense. I'll give credit to their defense. Their defense did a really good job the entire game
Mhm.
until they got too drained because they were on the field too much. Why? Because
Yeah.
their offense couldn't keep momentum on and keep build on a drive. The only reason that their defense started giving up points was because they were on the field too much. If that
Yeah.
is the case against Ohio State, you're just not going to have a fighting chance in that matchup.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I said it from the beginning. I said Texas was going to win this game, but if there was one team that that took the identity on of one player more than any other, it was Arizona State having the identity of Cam Scotabo. And Cam Scotabo
Yep.
ran all over Texas,
Yep.
ran
Yep.
all over them. And he also, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he also handled them with his arm too. So this is
Yeah.
not it's not, I mean, Texas's defense was probably the best in the nation. But then when you
Mm-hmm.
come into a game and I honestly don't know what happened. I don't know if Sark had them looking to next week to the semis. I have no idea because they fell apart in the fourth quarter. They fell
Mm-hmm.
apart. And
Yeah.
it was, if you're Texas, it's embarrassing and it's also a little bit concerning because
Yeah.
you now you're facing an Ohio State team, which I have said from the beginning. If there was one team that could figure out their identity, then they would be the most dangerous team in these playoffs. And I got so much flack for it. But Ohio State, after what they did against Tennessee, completely
Yeah.
dismantling them by opening up the ground game by going vertical and then doing the same thing against Oregon. They
Yep.
absolutely owned Oregon. It was so bad, but it was not surprising in the least because I also sat here and said it is incredibly difficult to beat the same team twice in the same college football season. And Oregon didn't come close. They had no response for Jim Knowles and that defensive scheme that Ohio State put in there. Dylan Gabriel looked so lost. and probably because he's a left-handed quarterback. I don't trust left-handed quarterbacks. I don't understand it. If you're a
the ball
quarterback, the
spins
prerequisite
backwards.
needs to be you need to be right-handed. That's it. End of discussion. You're left-handed.
What
You're
are we?
playing receiver. But
What are we doing? Are we going back to the 1800s where being a lefty is like a witchcraft thing? What's going
hey,
on right
I'm a
now,
lefty.
David?
Okay, I'm a lefty. Put a rock on my ankles, throw me in the river, and see if I float back up. But what I'm saying is that like Oregon they had no answer for that Jim Knowles
Mm-mm.
defense. And then thank goodness for Ryan Day. It's almost as if Ryan Day finally watched the game tape and said, "What worked against Tennessee? Let's see if we can replicate that because that's who we are. We go vertical." And he said, "Chip Kelly, you have carte blanche. Do whatever it is you would like to do. You can pass it around." The Ohio State receivers we'd never heard of were catching footballs. I think one guy
Yeah.
caught the first pass of the season in that game last week. Like it was insane how Chip Kelly
Mm-hmm.
just diced up a defense. And
Mm-hmm.
going into this game against against Texas, there is not a doubt in my mind that Ohio State will win this game. Now, is it going to be a blowout? I don't think so. I think Sarkisian's going to have Texas ready to play. But at the end of the day, I think what Ohio State has going for them, the momentum from Tennessee to Oregon, you dismantle Oregon the way you did.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no reason you can't do it against Texas. The only difference is Texas's defense is far superior to Oregon's. But being able to have a familiarity with how teams play in the SEC, already having played Tennessee, you already did it. You already kind of saw how the SEC play is. You already seen it. So now going into this game, I think Chip Kelly is going to be more than ready to be able to figure out how to dissect this defense in front of him. And it's going to be the only, and I've said this is Ohio State's Achilles heel. It's Will Howard's decision making. If Will Howard does not F it up, this is the moment in Hitch when Ryan Day as Will Smith pulls in Will Howard, who's Kevin James, and says, "You got the date. It's your job not to mess it up." That's what this is. If this game is a scene from a movie, it's Hitch. That's what that's what this comes down to. If Will Howard cannot mess this up, Ohio State will not only go to the Natty, they will win the Natty.
I like I said, I am latching on to your ship, and I am putting on my life vest, and I am strapping myself to the barriers of that boat because I am 100% in agreement with you. Based off of what I like I said, I thought Ohio State was going to put up a fight. I really did. I really thought Ohio State was going to show that they were not just a lucky number one ranked team based off of their lucky breaks during the regular season. I really did. And then I watched the first half and I said there's no chance. They were overpowered. They were just overwhelmed by an explosive offense. They were completely smothered by a great Ohio State defense. So yeah, I can't sit here and say that I don't between me seeing what Texas, the lack of what Texas was able to do, and also seeing the ability that Ohio State has whenever they're clicking and they are well-rounded team across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams, their defense, their
Yep.
offense, well-rounded across the board. I personally, I'm not a coach, but from my typical perspective, I did not see any lapses in any aspects of their three facets of the game. Special teams, defense, and offense, they looked well-rounded.
Yeah.
Taking both of those into consideration, as much as I wanted to believe that Texas had what it takes to really make it past the hump that they stumbled on last year, making it to the semifinals.
Mhm.
I just really don't see it. I don't.
Mhm.
I would rather die on the hill of saying I chose Ohio State and somehow Texas figured it out instead of
Mhm.
latching on and still sticking to
Yeah.
my guns and saying Texas can figure it out. There was nothing that I saw that told me that Texas was going to figure it out. Texas, I don't know. I just it looked ugly. They got
Mhm.
lucky. They got lucky breaks.
Mhm.
They ASU for people that really watched the game, ASU was in the prime position to win that game. Texas had to get a fourth down conversion that the ASU defense really just kind of
Mhm.
got lost in one play, and a non-targeting call that it was controversial really saved the Texas season overall. If you
Yeah.
have to rely on
Mhm.
that kind of luck to win a game, then I don't think you have what it takes to make it to a championship. That just
Yeah.
a good team is a good team, and
Yeah.
good teams always say we will play past the reffing. Unfortunately, ASU was on the wrong side of reffing for whoever thinks that a targeting call should have been called. But if you're relying on a reffing call to win a game, then you don't really have a well-rounded team as much as you thought you had a well-rounded team. Like that
Yeah.
is simply put, if you are relying on reffing to win a game, then you are not that good because that means that you're relying on semantics and you're relying on logistical calls and you're basing your wins off of lucky breaks, and a
Mhm.
championship team doesn't base their wins off of lucky calls. That it's really that simple. I
Yeah.
I I mourn for ASU because they did play the part, especially in the second half. The first half, Texas had their number, but like I said, the Texas defense just couldn't keep up with the fact that their offense was not keeping them off the field enough. So I hate the fact that the way that the game went for ASU, but ultimately, what I'm getting at is that based off of what I saw, Texas just didn't show enough to me as a typical viewer to be confident that they have what it takes to beat a team of the caliber of Ohio State. And I sat here, JB. You remember, I sat here and I told you you are giving Ohio State too much credit for their one win against Tennessee. But then they did what they did against Oregon, and now I can't really bash you for giving them too much credit. So again, if Texas if Texas relied on bad calls to win a game, there's
Mhm.
no way in hell I'm going to sit here and say Texas has a chance to be Ohio State if it's that type of game where it's an
Mhm.
offense versus an offense. I can sit here right
Yeah.
now and tell you that I trust Ohio State's offense way more than I trust Texas's offense. Texas's offense
Mhm.
looked some like a mule trying to drag a wagon through a big lake of mud. It looked
Yeah. Mhm.
slow. It looked unexplosive. It just looked
Mhm.
slow and really not real. Not I don't even. It just didn't look the part of what I
Yeah.
thought Texas was going to have.
Mhm.
It was very discouraging. So I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not. I would rather be on your side and bank on Ohio State and trust that Ohio State is going to continue to do what they've been doing for the last 2 weeks. That it's just
Yeah.
that simple for me.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna rain on your parade here, but I'm gonna point out two things that that could go in Texas's favor. Okay. So if if and like this goes back to Will Howard making good decisions. Okay, Ohio State's got weapons for days. Chip Kelly is a mastermind of being able to get the ball out, being able to spread it around, be able to have the defense
Mhm.
be confused as to where the ball is going to go. Texas will blitz Will Howard. Will Howard's going to have the ability to make the decisions, the correct decisions in those moments to make sure the ball's not turned over. I think Chip Kelly's got that. Texas, this is how Texas wins the game. Okay. Texas will win this game
If they have a
if
chance, you mean? Yeah.
if Quinn Ewers, if he can survive the blitz from the Jim Knowles defense, if he can survive if Quinn Ewers can survive Cody Simon and company coming at them, and if they can somehow get it out vertically to Golden or to Bond or to Helm, like if they can survive the blitz from Jim Knowles, which is a big if they can
Mhm.
do that, and this is the only way I give Texas a chance, is if everything goes right on the Ohio State side of the ball on the offense. If everything goes right, that one weakness Ohio State has is that secondary, but that's if the quarterback can withstand the pressure from the front seven. If Quinn Ewers can escape, if he can make good decisions without that blitz, without Cody Simon in his face, or with Cody Simon in his face rather, then Texas has a shot. And that's the only reason why this game is not as much of a blowout as Ohio State's games against Tennessee and Oregon, is because I still believe in Texas's ability to win. I still do. Texas, they don't not belong here. They don't not belong in the semis. They were one of the best teams in college football all season for a reason. And so if Quinn Ewers can survive that, if he can, then Texas has a shot. I still have Ohio State winning this game, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And Notre Dame just tied up the game. So we are at 10-10 in the third quarter. So maybe we are pretty close on the equal limit or equal level of skill set between Notre Dame and Penn State. But ultimately, to round out our college talk, there's a topic that I came across that really, really upset me. And I don't know if you've heard of this, but there was an individual on a major sports network that said that he hated how the playoffs were working out because all we were going to figure out based off of the playoffs was who was the best team at getting on a hot streak during the playoffs. We were the champion of the college football season was not going to be the best team in college football. It was just going to be the hottest team at the right time.
Okay, that's the playoffs in general in every sport.
Yes, that is what I wanted to get at. It upset me so much that somebody had
this?
that type of.
It was someone from ESPN, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah, most likely because of the
It was
people
probably
that have the
RG3.
hottest.
He said some outlandish
No,
crap.
it wasn't. It wasn't RG3, but it was probably somebody in ESPN. But the moment I saw that take, I was like, yes. That happens across all sports. The team that gets hottest at the right time is the team that deserves to win a championship. If you have a problem with that, tell that to the Giants that took down the undefeated Patriots to win the Super Bowl twice. Well, they didn't take down the Patriots undefeated twice, but they took down the Patriots twice, one undefeated season and one when the Patriots were by far the best team in the league.
Yeah.
It upset me that somebody had the take of, well, we're not going to decide who the best team in college football is. We're going to just figure out who the best team in the playoffs is. Like, what? It's not even a hot take. What are we talking about when we talk about playoffs? It is a team that figures out what works best for the time that they're in. If a team gets hot in the playoffs, they deserve to be champions. It is that simply put.
Yeah.
If we were going to rely on, well, who's the best team in college football, then we wouldn't have a playoff. We would have gone back to the BCS times where we just took the top two teams and decided who was the best one of the two.
Yeah.
That is the point of a playoff, to figure out who can get hot at the right time to take on good teams and either pull off upsets or just get lucky breaks and get on the right side of the ball and on the right side of the scoreboard.
Yeah.
JB, before I get more upset, give me your thoughts on that before we move on to the other side of the football.
Yeah, it's a completely ludicrous take because for years The issue this year is not the fact that we have a playoff. The issue is that now we know we need to reseed this the right way. If you're a top 4 team at the end of the season in the rankings, you're the top 4 team in the playoffs. The end. You should not have an automatic bye because you won your conference. I'm sorry, that's not how that should work.
Right.
And so, and to sit there and say, oh well, this and that. Okay, well then why even have one? I'm sorry, Oregon. You're the top ranked team at the end of the season. Congratulations, you're the national champion. That's just so stupid. And
That's what
and
it would
here's
mean.
the other thing. Here's the other thing is that the college football playoffs have been such a revelation because not only did the number 1 team in the country, who deservedly and justifiably got a bye, they got blown out by a team who wouldn't even been in the conversation if we didn't have a playoff. Number 8 Ohio State would not have even been in the playoff because they were number 8 to end the season. So when you have this mechanism to be able to have teams come in and to show who they are, and the inverse of that is true too, because you can watch this playoffs and then years down the line say, hey, remember 2024 when Michigan beat Ohio State and Alabama? Oh, they were national champions? No, they weren't even in a playoff. Like this is like it's an odd thing because you have like I said, we have this mechanism now to be able to have teams get hot at the right moment, and no one in their right mind was going to sit there and say, oh, that the way Ohio State played Michigan, they showed real promise. No, everyone coming into this saw Ohio State as, why are they even here? They're only here by default because they're the they're an 8th-ranked team. They're only here by default. And then they dismantle Tennessee, and you're like, oh, is there something there? And then the face comes off, and then here they are against Oregon, and now they're more than likely going to win this entire thing. When this started, you wouldn't even fathom Ohio State getting past the first round. So whoever said this and whoever believes this is just absolutely asinine and ridiculous, because that's the beauty of sports, is to be able to sit there and say, oh, the underdog. We love underdogs. It's the reason we watch March Madness. No one watches March Madness because they're like, oh, I want Duke and UConn to dominate. No, we want the Indiana. We want IUPUI to go to the Sweet 16. We want Charleston to get to the Final Four. Like this is why we watch it. And
right.
March Madness is the exact reason why this is going to be 16 teams really soon. Like this is going to be expanded because this is fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Just as a closing point, just imagine if that point that this individual made was a reality and meant that we had an Oregon and Georgia, which was the number 1 and number 2 teams. Can you imagine how unexciting of a matchup that would have been, with how Oregon showed that they were missing certain parts to keep up with a top dog of college football, and then Georgia with a first-time starting quarterback in 5 years being the one that's driving that offense? Just imagine what that championship would have looked like. Just take a second and just imagine what that would have looked like, and then compare it to what we've had now. And yes, we've had 7 games that have been, for the most part, blowouts, but we have a Penn State and Notre Dame teams that would never in a million years would have had a chance to play for the championship. And we're watching the game right now to decide to see which one of those 2 teams, an independent and a Big Ten team, have a chance to play for the championship. Just take a minute and decide. For those of you that are listening to us, choose which option you would like. Oregon and Georgia with an unexplosive offense and a first-time starting quarterback, or Penn State, Notre Dame are in line to make the championship. Which would you rather have? That is how I'm going to leave this topic, because I personally would rather have what we have this year compared to the old style where we just took the 1 and 2 teams and just said you play for the championship. It's that simple.
Yeah. Say what you want about the whole thing. But sitting there saying that rooting for the underdog is a terrible thing. Okay, well then America should have never been a country. Okay, because we were underdogs against the British. All right, I don't hear you complaining about that one. I hear you complain about that underdog story. So
Yeah.
like, just get out of here with all that nonsense.
Greatly put, JB. JB, let's move on. We have talked about college for a minute now. Let's talk about
Yes.
the playoffs that are about to kick off in
Ugh.
48 hours, which is the NFL playoffs. My question to you is, are you excited about the matchups that we have currently in line to happen this weekend?
No, not really.
No.
Now, it's not okay. Look, I mean, obviously, I mean, the top teams, made it in. You know, this is also a case for reseeding because a 14-3 Vikings should not be on the road against the Rams, who no one even knew made the playoffs. All right, this shouldn't be a thing. So and then just take a time out. You know, thoughts and prayers out to everybody in California because the Rams game's taking place Monday. We have no idea what's going to happen. The NFL should be
officially. They moved it to Arizona.
They moved it to Arizona. Okay, good. That was my next point. But you know, football aside, sports aside, these are homes, families misplaced, homes destroyed, lives, burned up on the side of the road. So thoughts and prayers to everybody in California. But I'm not really excited about this weekend. I'm not really excited about this weekend slate of games. I'm just not, because it just okay, so let's just, you know what? Let's do this. Let's break it down game by game, and I can tell you why I'm not excited, and maybe I'll change my mind. So let's go to Saturday, okay? So we open with the Chargers going to Houston. Who's excited about this game? Who?
Texans fans?
Who's excited?
The fact that they're in the playoffs, they stumbled into the playoffs again?
Look, Houston's in the playoffs because they played in the second worst division in NFL football.
Yeah.
That's not the NFC South. It's the AFC South, okay?
Yeah.
All right, the South will rise again? I don't think so. Not in football, it won't, because it's awful. So the Texans are hosting a game miraculously. And that's one home team that's going to lose. The Chargers are going to beat the Texans. The end.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen.
I believe it. I 100% believe it. Even though I sat here at the beginning of the season and said the Chargers were going to have some growing pains to figure out their offense, I have to bite my tongue and give credit to the fact that the Chargers locked up a playoff spot before their fellow Broncos did, and they looked way more dominant throughout the entire playoffs. So like the Chargers, the Texans are not the Texans of last year. They're trying to build this story of, oh well, we're the underdogs and nobody's giving us a chance. Yeah, because you don't look like the Texans of last year. People have figured you out. So
the league figured out CJ Stroud. Yeah, that's it. And it's funny.
He came back to earth real
Stephon
quick.
Diggs went to Houston, and they got worse. I know Stephon Diggs isn't even playing, and Houston's worse. So look, this just, for me, I feel justified because I sat here and said Stephon Diggs is the clubhouse cancer. TikTok's going to ban that now because I said cancer. But yes, like they're a worse team.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have, rounding out the Saturday slate, we have the Ravens and Steelers. And come on,
Steelers win.
Steelers win?
Yep. Steelers will win this football game.
The Steelers have lost 4 in a row, JB.
4 in a row in the regular season. If you remember, okay, let me take it down a walk down history lane here, okay? Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in his last 5 playoff appearances, okay? It's been a minute, okay?
It's not going to change.
The longest senior head coach in NFL football to not win your last 5 playoff games over the span of 10 years or 8 years, that's a long time. That's a long time. But
Yeah, that's pretty.
what I believe it was Kyle Brandt who brought this up. The Steelers have finished high on the seasons they made the playoffs. They finished on a high note in the regular season and got immediately crushed in the opening round of the playoffs. I think this is exactly what this Steelers team needs. Exactly what they need. And so,
Okay.
and look, Baltimore beat Pittsburgh the last time. Okay, that's 2 out of the last 10 times. Congratulations. Congratulations for pretending to have a rivalry against a team you can't beat. And let's not forget, as great as Lamar Jackson is in the regular season, this is the playoffs. This is the playoffs. This is where he struggles the most. He is the Marty Schottenheimer of quarterbacks. He cannot win in the playoffs. He just can't. I wish it was different. I wish it was, because Lamar is single-handedly one of the greatest talents, not only at the quarterback position, but in the history of football. He is one of the most electric players that have ever played the game. And I would love to see one day Lamar hoist the Lombardi Trophy. It would bring me nothing but great joy to know that someone not named Trent Dilfer can bring a Super Bowl to the Baltimore Ravens franchise. So, but this, Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco. So this
Yeah.
is this right here is, but I think this is a game where the Steelers win. This is going to be a game where no one picks Pittsburgh. No one is going to pick them.
Nobody's picking Pittsburgh.
Nobody. I'm picking them. The guy JB who picked Pittsburgh to win the division, they didn't. They came close.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here right now and say the Steelers will win this game on Saturday.
Very, very interesting take, JB. I beg to differ. I think Lamar has unlocked a whole new aspect of his game with Derrick Henry in his backfield, because then what the Ravens needed was to be able to not put all the pressure on Lamar Jackson to be able to win a game, and they don't need to anymore. Now, if they lose their identity, then yes, 100% Pittsburgh has a really good chance of winning that game. But if they stick to what they've figured out all year long, which was give Derrick Henry the ball, and if Derrick Henry is not figuring out that kind of game, let Lamar do what Lamar does. If they stick to that, they have a really good chance of winning that game, especially considering how the Steelers have been spiraling out of control since November. Russell Wilson just does not look like the Russell Wilson once he took over that offense, and I don't think there's that good of a chance that the Steelers win. But like I said, I'll put the caveat that if for some reason, like they've done previous years, if they lose their identity, then the Steelers will come and bite them in the neck and just completely take advantage of the fact that they're not playing the type of football that they are known to have won that division for them. But now on the NFC side, moving on to Sunday, we have the Rams and Vikings, and you already stated your gripes against the Vikings.
That's Monday night. That's Monday night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Monday night. Sorry.
Yeah. Which the Rams will win that game.
What is going? JB, the Rams over the Vikings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Rams won their division off a technicality. If not, we'd be talking about the Seattle Seahawks.
I don't care. They're in the playoffs, and they're playing a team where it's going to be Matthew Stafford against Sam Darnold.
The
Rams win this game.
Okay. All right. I'll let you have your time, your little hot take.
You're going to eat so much crow. Like, crow's going to be the most, like, you're going to have leftovers of crow.
I will
next week. It's going to be every night.
Stew.
Gabe's like, "What's for dinner?" "Oh, crow. I ate so much of it. I have so much left over. Please join me."
I will eat green chili crow stew all next week if you somehow end up being right. And then the last two matchups I feel like are the ones that are hardest to predict. the Commanders and Buccaneers, and the Packers and Eagles. And this is where I want to pause between us just going through our picks. And I want to give you a chance to remind everybody who your picks were at the beginning of the season to be in the Super Bowl.
The Bills and Lions.
Okay. My picks were the Packers and the Ravens, which is why I'm sitting here and fighting you every tooth and nail because I am sticking to my picks, JB. I believe that the Packers, even though
stick to your picks,
I am going to stick to my picks. I am one to
defend your
be
children.
wishy-washy.
Yes.
I jump ship pretty fast, depending on what I see in a game. I'm not jumping ship this time because both of my picks made the playoffs, the Ravens and the Packers. The Packers have some concerning injuries with them losing Watson, the receiver Watson, and their all-star defensive player in Alexander. But I'm still going to stick with the fact that the Packers have just enough. They're going to get hot at the right time, and they're going to upset the Eagles, and they're going to get on a streak and play the Lions for the NFC Championship and then play for the Super Bowl. But give me your pick.
I have the Packers beating the Eagles.
Well, that's good. How about the Buccaneers and Commanders? I feel like that's
This
closer.
is the one toss-up for me. This is the one toss-up. If the Redskins were playing in Washington, yes, I would Skins all day long. But they're playing in Tampa, and there's like a Mayfield magic when it comes to him playing at home, and so or at least it seems that way. I don't know if the stats back it up, but my eyes see what they see. I still, I'm still at the, I'm still before the ripe old age of 39, that where I can see what I see and doesn't seem to be hindered too much. This is the one toss up for me. And really because what Dan Quinn has done with this Washington team this year and how quickly Cliff has unlocked that specialness in Jaden Daniels at the pro level. I mean, Washington just plays a style of football that is like it is reminiscent of when Dan Quinn was a DC in Seattle. It's hard-nosed. They don't quit. They do not give up. I feel like Tampa, I don't feel like I've seen it. Tampa puts themselves in a hole too often, too quickly, and where they have to kind of get out of that hole. I mean, the way they played against the Saints, I'm like, my God, my goodness, the Saints. The Saints couldn't win an NIT in college football. Like, what are you doing here? Oh my goodness. You're fighting. Tampa's fighting for their life to go to the playoffs. And they won 27-19. Okay, great. Congratulations. You should have won by 20. Like you should have never been behind. And Saints scored 19 points. Okay? They scored 5 times. 4 of those times were a field goal. So let's not pretend that this Tampa offense was just like, whoa, where's this coming from? My point in saying all this is the way Washington plays against the way that Tampa kind of just puts themselves in a hole way too early. I'm leaning toward Washington winning this game. I'm leaning toward Washington going to the next round. And who would they play? I don't know who they would play. I don't even know.
I think they would end up playing. I guess it would depend on who would win. But if based off of the projections, Philly is favored, so that would mean that they would play the Lions next round because it would be the lowest seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, So I have Washington winning this game, and and then going off, and I think they would actually play. If my pick is correct, they would end up. It would be the Skins and the Rams. Because I think Green Bay's the lowest seed, aren't they? Yeah,
Yeah,
Green Bay's.
they are.
Yeah, Green Bay's.
But
So
I'm going
if
based off
Green
of.
Bay.
See, here's my thing. I hate that this is the first round matchup between the Buccaneers and the Commanders. I wish that they would have just done just enough to seed themselves differently. I like both teams, and I feel like both teams on against any other matchup that they would have had in the first round would have had a good matchup. It just the Commanders against the Eagles, I feel like the Commanders would have had a good chance of winning that game. The Buccaneers against any of the wild cards, I would have given them just as good of a chance to win that game too, because the Buccaneers have this tendency of becoming an explosive team that figures out things, and I I am in love with what Baker Mayfield has been doing for that Buccaneers team. I hope that that relationship lasts for a really long time because it just seems to fit so well. So it just upsets me that this is the matchup that we have to see one of those teams get knocked out, because I feel like the both of those teams just would have given any other matchup that they had a really good chance to a really good run for their money, as far as the Buccaneers against any of the other wild card picks and the Commanders against any other uh division
Division.
winner. It just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I'm
hate
right
that
there
this
with
is
you
the matchup
because
that we got.
this is the one game that excites me the most. I'm
Right.
very excited to see this game. Like,
Yeah.
if we go to, and no disrespect to Denver, but this is a consolation game for congratulations making the playoffs. There's no way Denver stands a chance beating Buffalo. I'm looking at this game and I'm like, why are we even playing it? What? What? What is this a
Yeah.
game?
You'd be surprised on how many people are thinking that the Broncos have a really good chance of winning that game for whatever reason. I guess
No one
their
thinks
defense has
this.
been
There's no one that
there's
thinks
been
this.
there is people that think that the
Are they Bronco
Broncos
fans? Are they?
smothering
Is
defense.
their last name Manning and Elway? Like, no,
No.
there's like,
I I'm just telling you, a lot of people are on upset alert between the Bills and the Broncos for whatever reason, but I am on the same boat with you. I don't think it's going to be. I think if there's a game that I would consider the likeliest to have a blowout, it would be the Bills and the Broncos. If it stays a close game, sure, I could give the Broncos a chance because their
yeah,
defense has a way of smothering an offense
yeah,
and shutting it down.
hmm
But
yeah,
if the Bills get on a roll, there's no
yeah,
way this will be a
yeah,
blowout. But yeah, I agree with you.
yeah,
There I would have a hard time seeing the Broncos, who
yeah,
barely made
mhm,
the playoffs just because the Chiefs decided that they wanted to rest
yeah,
literally everybody.
yeah,
That's why they made the playoffs. I don't give them
mhm,
a very good chance
yeah.
of
This is
being
the reason
competitive at
why I
all.
wish Cincinnati made it in above Denver. Because if
Yeah,
Cincinnati's playing this game, that's a fun game. That's a
yeah,
fun game to watch. That
yeah.
is wow.
That would
That's
have been a really good
fireworks right
one.
there.
the the top three quarterbacks would have been as far as the AFC would have been in the playoffs, and nothing makes the playoffs better than seeing Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson in the play. Oh, of course, and Joe Burrow in the playoffs at the same time. They just
yeah,
seem to always be set up to just
mhm,
beat each other up
yeah,
until the day that they retire. Until one of them retires, when we see those quarterbacks in the playoffs at the same time, you know the AFC is going to be fireworks to show. But JB, I'm going to give you a second chance to change your mind on your playoff predictions. We're locking them in right now. You picked the
Okay.
Bills and Lions. Do you want to
Yes.
change it at all?
No.
You're locked
No.
in on the Bills and the Lions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though the Lions, I mean, they looked good. They their deficiencies on the injury report have been
Mm-hmm.
in everybody's face, and they've shown
Yep.
moments where their defense can't keep
Yep.
up. You
Mm-hmm.
still believe in what the Lions have shown to make
Yeah,
it to the
because they played in the toughest division in NFL football this season, the NFC North, and they finished with a record of 15-2.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. And one of those losses was to the Rams. And the one team that could, I mean, the one team that has a defense that could stop the Rams is Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is the only reason why Minnesota made it as far as it did, because that offense sputtered in the second half of the season. But that's also the reason why I'm picking the Rams to beat the Vikings. But no,
Yeah.
Bills, Lions, Super Bowl. That's it. That's it. Chiefs have one loss. Who was it to?
Actually, who did? Oh, the Bills. Yeah, the Bills. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But
Okay.
playoff Chiefs is not the same as regular season Chiefs.
I don't care.
Remind
I don't
you
care.
of
This
that.
is Josh Allen's year. Josh
It
Allen is going to run over people so hard. He's going to turn into an actual snowmobile. He's going to be an actual snowplow and run over the crap out of people. It's going to happen. And if there's one team where the snow and the weather is not going to negatively affect them, it's Buffalo playing in Kansas City at the end of January. Yeah. It's not going to affect them. They'd be like, okay, cool. It's colder where we just, oh, well, what's up with this spring weather? Oh, wow, it's nice. Oh, it's toasty over here.
Yeah. Here's my, okay. We'll keep this conversation short, but I do have a major question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Vikings actually going to let Sam Darnold walk as a free agent after the season they have had? Do you really think that's a good idea?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes. Yes. I know there's arguments out there to sign Darnold and trade McCarthy, but why would you do that? Justin Jefferson already signed his extension. We have Justin Jefferson locked in already.
I don't know. I am on the boat of, are you really going to let a quarterback that you developed and obviously clicks with the type of offense that you're trying to run? You don't know what you're getting out of McCarthy. Like, you really don't. I know what he did in Michigan. I know what the potential is behind him, but you really want to bank on a potential over Sam Darnold's not old. You can still sign him for a long-term contract.
He's not.
You can have
and he's
him
a
for
good
5-6
quarterback.
years still. He is.
He's a good quarterback.
He is.
But those resources can be allocated elsewhere. Sam Darnold's not. I mean, look. I'll make two caveats to this. Two. One, let's see how Sam does in the playoffs. If the Vikings actually make it deep into the playoffs, okay, you consider keeping them. But two, you keep Sam Darnold only if he's willing to take Baker Mayfield money.
Okay. I mean, I don't think he would be based off of his history and one good year, I don't think he would be a quarterback that would necessarily have the leverage to sit here and asking
there
for
will be a team out there who will pay him the money.
But
so, which is
my point is, I don't think he will. He won't want to reset the market.
No, but I'm saying that there will be a team that'll go 3 or 4 $200 million.
I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking that as the Vikings have been operating, they were good. They looked really good. He had a really bad game against the Lions to win the division and the number 1 seed, but at the same time, Jared Goff also had a really bad game. All quarterbacks are allowed to have a really bad game. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just think what that offense looked like with Sam Darnold, you have to think really hard about whether you want to bank on building around a quarterback that you don't really know what you have. You know what you have out of Sam Darnold. You really do. I really do believe that with that coach in Minnesota and what he was able to get out of him, you really have to consider the fact that maybe you don't necessarily have to go with the shiny new toy that you drafted last year, and maybe you just stick to a quarterback that did pretty damn good for you. I'm
No,
not sold on letting him walk.
Yeah, and to counter that, you just brought up Kevin O'Connell and what he did to unlock Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He could do it with J.J. McCarthy. You could do it with
I'm
J.J.
not. I
McCarthy
don't
with Daniel
know.
Jones as the backup. You can do that.
I don't know.
You can do that.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sold on it, and
Imagine this. Okay, listen. Imagine this. Instead of spending the money to go and spending the money to keep Sam Darnold and trading J.J. McCarthy, why not use a fraction of that money to keep Darnold and go get T. Higgins? Pair him up with Justin Jefferson.
Right.
And then see what J.J.
Yeah.
McCarthy can do with Kevin O'Connell as his coach.
Oh man, too many. See, here's my thing, JB. Too many teams like having the young quarterback, and it ends up backfiring in their faces really quick. If you have a commodity and you know what you built around that QB, and you can build on what a 14. What was their final record? 14 and 3. Yeah, that's you don't want to build on that. That is that. Oh
Their
man,
defense, Manny. Their defense is what carried them to 14-3. The second half of the season, Sam Darnold sputtered. He sputtered. I know he had before last week's game, his touchdown to interception ratio was 18-2 against teams 500 or better. I get that. I understand that. But he also had a 5 interception game against I think it was the Panthers or something. I don't know who it was. It was against a bad team. It was a really bad team. It wasn't they're borderline. No, it was a bad team. They 4 or 5 picks against that team. And I'm not, and that's not the reason why you get rid of the guy. But I'm saying that if you are 14-3, primarily not because of the quarterback, why can't you just let that guy go and allow your genius offensive-minded head coach unlock something in J.J. McCarthy?
Because you know what you have out of Sam Darnold, and if this is what he looked like with figuring out an offense, it can only imagine what you could do after you have him 2 years under that offense with the type of coach, what I would consider one of the top 3 QB whisperers in coaching and head coaches. I just feel like you just know that you can only get better. You can only get better quarterback play. If you could pull that type of offense out of Sam Darnold, the washed out bust that was Sam Darnold when he got drafted, I just feel like you could only get better by keeping him. I would rather do that than sign him to 3 years. There's gonna be more college quarterbacks. You'll have if it doesn't work out, go draft Archie Manning once he goes into the NFL draft. But why take the gamble with McCarthy when you don't know what you're getting out of him? The concern about McCarthy was that Michigan offense was a run offense. That's not what Minnesota wants to do. They want to have an explosive offense. If you want to really bank on McCarthy, that just doesn't seem like it's a match made in heaven for that type of offense. I don't know. I don't envy the fact that they have to make that decision this offseason.
I do. I envy the crap out of it. To sit there and say, hey, we have 2 quarterbacks, and I believe that we can do the same with either one of them. Hell yeah, that's a great position to be in. That's a fantastic position. The quarterback is the most important position in football.
They have to sign Sam Darnold. It's not like they have him on an extended contract. Keep Sam Darnold.
Think of this scenario.
Keep McCarthy.
Think of this scenario, okay? Where was Sam Darnold last year before he came to Minnesota?
He was on the Niners, right?
He was, okay? Purdy's got 1 year left in his contract. His rookie deal, they have an ability to extend him. Brock Purdy is a guy that I'm saying give Baker Mayfield money to him. He's not ready for the big-time money yet. See what he can do. If I'm John Lynch and I go to Brock Purdy and I say 3-100, or to say 4-150. Okay, we'll do that. 4-150, 50 million guaranteed. Okay, to be our quarterback. He says no. I'm John Lynch. I'm on the phone with every single NFL team who needs a quarterback, trying to trade Brock Purdy, and I'm bringing Sam Darnold back to be my starter for next year.
I don't know. Who would you rather have, Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold to run your offense on the QB needy teams? Who would you rather have?
Sam Darnold.
Okay, so why would the
Yeah.
Vikings not want to keep him?
Because you can reinvest that money for other weapons. You can reinvest that money and bring in another running back. You can go get T. Higgins or someone else to pair up with Justin Jefferson. I know Jordan Addison's not a bad weapon, but to have another vertical threat out there to pair with Justin Jefferson is a fantastic thing. And if I'm Kevin O'Connell, I believe wholeheartedly I can develop J.J. McCarthy. I can unlock in him what I unlocked in Sam Darnold. I can do that.
I know. As like I just said, he is a quarterback whisperer, but I would rather have the quarterback whisperer working with a quarterback that has the experience compared to somebody that possibly has the potential to be a pretty good quarterback. Because we didn't see
Just
something
like I said,
in college.
caveat. Let's see how far Minnesota makes it.
Okay,
Which won't be far.
So
They'll be out of it by Monday night.
yeah, according to your predictions, they won't be out of it after Monday night. But if they win one game, would you consider keeping Sam Darnold? That is my final question on this topic.
No. No. Let's get to the NFC Championship game. If Sam Darnold, if the Vikings are in the playoffs by the NFC Championship game, yeah, you know what? There is a legitimate conversation to be had.
Okay. We're going to bookmark this conversation. We are going to bookmark this conversation and see how the Vikings do, and we'll reassess this conversation because I think it is not as simple as you are making it seem, because I think Sam Darnold fits perfectly with what the Vikings offense is supposed to look like. I think that's the case.
All right, where are we going next?
Like, we're going to knock out our favorite segment, JB. We're going to jump right into our fix of six. Do you have your fix of six ready to go?
I do.
Then take it away, JB.
Number 3 fix of six. The Astros 13th round draft pick, Bryce Butcher. And I'm probably butchering his name right now, but Bryce Butcher has decided to play. He has another year of eligibility in college football. He has decided to play linebacker again for the Oregon Ducks for the 2025-2026 season. The Astros have decided that he will come to spring training and that he would still be allowed to go play football, and they have full faith that he'll come back and play baseball at the end. To me, this just has all the writings of when Kyler Murray was drafted in the first round, 9th overall by the Oakland A's. And then Kyler Murray's like, you know what? I'm a better football player than baseball player. If that's true, he would have failed baseball tremendously. But all the luck to Bryce Butcher. However you pronounce your name, man, do not sock me in the face for denigrating your name in any way. But good luck to you, and kudos to the Astros for not just cutting bait with him. JB's fix of six, number 2. Justin Verlander must love the color orange. After playing for the Detroit Tigers, the Houston Astros, and the New York Mets, he has now signed a 1-year deal to play and pitch for the San Francisco Giants. Now, this dude's 42 years old. He had a horrendous season last year. So horrendous, I'm surprised Kate Upton didn't leave him. But this is Justin Verlander's opportunity to be a 42-year-old to resurrect his career as a 42-year-old. That's the key here. I think since 2000, there have only been 4, 7, 10, 11 starting pitchers who have made 10-plus starts at 42 and older. So we'll see what he can do with the Giants. I don't know how well it's going to work, but all the luck to Justin Verlander, one of the greatest to ever pitch Major League Baseball, a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to it. JB's Fix of 6, number 1. After waiting 2 days to fire Antonio Pierce and saying, Tom Telesco, Tommy T, you're fine. You're going to stay with us. We love what you're doing with our team. And then, what's that? Oh, TB12 wants to have a conversation with Bill Belichick. Hey, Tommy T, I think you misunderstood me. I meant you were good for another day. Now you're fired. So the only reason you fire your GM after you say, no, you're good, dude, you're staying, is because Tom Brady, who is said to be heavily involved in the interview process for the next Raiders head coach, has already reached out to Bill Belichick. Now, Billy said no at first, but now there's reports out there with UNC saying they have a $10 million problem on their hands. Do they want $10 million from the Raiders and go get another head coach? Or is Bill really going to stay at UNC? I don't know what's going to happen here. I found the entire thing with Bill Belichick going to UNC a little bit fishy, maybe a little bit more than that. I thought it was odd. This man deserves to be in the NFL, no matter how scared NFL teams were last year to hire him. But if the Raiders are going to sit there and fire their GM, who they said was safe, in order to go after a guy who enjoys interception Penn State, who enjoys not just being head coach, but the head coach and the GM, who do you think could sway him to take this job better than the guy who drove him to immortality? Manny, you're up.
JB, I have a lot of concerns with what you just said, considering, including the fact that you're saying that Tom Brady drove Bill Belichick to championships compared to the fact that Bill Belichick carried.
I knew
Tom
you'd have
Brady.
a problem with that. I knew you would.
Yeah.
I knew you'd have a problem with that.
I know.
But we all saw Belichick
on.
in the life after Brady. We all saw it. We all have eyes. We witnessed it.
On Manny's Fix of 6, I am rolling it back to the bowl games that apparently nobody cares about ever since they expanded the college football playoff to 12 teams, because apparently we have bowl games still going on and nobody really cares anymore besides the people that watch the Pop-Tart college the bowl game, the Pop-Tart
I love
bowl
cinnamon
game.
sugar.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Talk to me about
it was
the
a
fact
cinnamon
that they
roll Pop-Tart. That's what it was.
Yeah, they put a giant human Pop-Tart into a toaster and they eat it because they win. That just seems wrong to me.
The only time cannibalism is acceptable.
Talking about bowl games, way to make everybody look dumb. Colorado University and Deion Sanders, for everybody that thought you were deserving of making the playoff. You couldn't even win your bowl game against BYU, and it wasn't even close. I know you have 2 players that are already checked out and going to the NFL draft mentality, but if you're going to play the bowl game and those players are going to play the bowl game, I would expect you to be competitive. And let me tell you something. You were not competitive. You lost 36-14 in a bowl game that wasn't even a recognizable. They played the Alamo Bowl, JB. They played the Alamo Bowl, and they got.
And you know what? We remember the Alamo. Because
we will remember the Alamo.
Prime
we
got
will
destroyed.
remember. We will remember the Alamo as the death site of the Colorado University season, because I just don't understand how you go from a team that was in conversations to make the college football playoff to a team that you couldn't even win the bowl game that has the Alamo as its freaking sponsor. The Valero Alamo Bowl went to BYU, and Deion Sanders had to put his tail between his legs and talk about how his team still played hard enough but yeah, you still lost to BYU. That is Manny's number
Interception,
3.
Notre Dame in the end zone.
On
But there's
Manny,
a flag.
number 2 fix of 6. Can we start forcing teams that are in the FCS to just by automatically joining the higher ranks of the college football? North Dakota just won their record-setting 10th FCS championship. And as long as I have been consciously tracking FCS, North Dakota has been in the championship for the FCS or has been winning the championship for the FCS. Can we just force them to join a more competitive league and just bring them into the Mountain West conference or
Hey,
put them in
Mountain
the
West needs a
Pac-12?
team. North Dakota State, come on. Come on, baby. Come on.
Give them to the Pac-12 or the Pac-2 or whatever the heck you want to call it, or give them to the Mountain West. But are you kidding me? I am tired of hearing North Dakota dominating the FCS. Like, I just feel like the regular season doesn't even matter anymore. But I guess congratulations to North Dakota because you have won 10 FCS championships. And I have a feeling they do not want to make the jump because they know they can continue to dominate the FCS world. But I want to sit here and put my little seed in the fact that we are going to force North Dakota to make the jump out of the FCS because they obviously are too dang good and have too good of a program to continue to stay in the FCS. Bring them to the higher leagues. I want to see North Dakota make the college football playoff in the next 5 years. That is my take. And on Manny's number 1 fix of 6, JB, I have a question for you. You may or may not know this. Do you know what team or what franchise in the NFL has the most losses over the last 30 years?
I'm going to say the Chicago Bears.
Wrong. The freaking Las Vegas Raiders have set the record for the most losses in the last 30 years. They have passed the Cleveland Browns, who had 294, and the Detroit Lions, which also have 294. Both of those teams have gone with seasons without winning a game. And guess who has the record with the most losses? The freaking Raiders have the record with 295 losses in the last 30 years. JB, I don't want to hear it anymore. I sat here at the beginning of the season and told you I have no belief in the Raiders, and you fought me tooth and nail and told me that you believed something was going on with the Raiders, and I sat here and I told you I do not believe in what the Raiders are doing. Maybe Tom Brady will turn that franchise around, but right now, congratulations, Raiders. You are the most loss-filled team in the NFL in the last 30 years. And that is Manny's very livid fix of 6. JB, we are done. We're out of here.
You know, I can't help but wonder that the reason you brought that up is because I was so high on the Raiders in the offseason. I feel like you did that. I feel like that was retaliation for the fact that I picked so well in the college football playoff so far, and the fact that you jumped ship to Ohio State. You're like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna have the last word in this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Who told you? Who said that the Raiders were fakers?
Things that have nothing to do with context.
Yeah. I told you at the beginning of the year I have zero trust in the Raiders, and they're a top 10 pick once again. So congratulations, Raider. I knew it. I knew it. Thanks for proving me right. I don't get many wins against you, JB. I do not get many wins against you, especially when it comes to predictions, but I will take this one, and I will remind you every year that I continue to not believe in the Raiders, that they are not a good team, and they will continue to not be a good team as long as they have that owner that has the worst haircut in the world running that organization.
It's really bad. It's a bad haircut.
Bad.
It is. It's bad. I feel like Trump's been president and around the presidency for far too long that we forgot there's another orange hair colored man who has just an even worse haircut. It's bad. Hey, you got my bad side. I think the entire time or the entire part of it is the bad side.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad side all the way around. Yeah. So, yeah.
JB, what are you drinking today?
I dug into one of the things that I said I went bargain hunting at Total Wine, and I bought a rye called Copper Still, and it's a 95 it's a 90 proof, and it's actually pretty dang good. Like, it's just out of the 5 that I bought, the 5 different ones that I bought, this is definitely going back in the rotation. Yeah, and I was smoking a Liga Privada T52. Probably can't see it because of the light. There you go.
Mhm.
But it's I'm a huge Drew Estates guy. Like I've said so many times, I'm a Drew Estates apologist, regardless of all the factory smokes that they create in the quorums that everyone has an
Mhm.
issue with. But Drew Estates, to me, I'm a loyal fan. Manny, what were you drinking?
I am taking a change in my palate. I'm bringing back a brandy. I am a big fan. Here, let's get
Of
there.
E
You
and
go.
J? Yeah.
E&J. I have been a big fan of E&J, and this one is a vanilla E&J brandy, and I am a big fan. I gotta
I
tell
am
you,
not a brandy guy. I cannot get behind it. I
I don't
can't.
know, JB. I
Ah.
like how smooth they are. They don't have that woody taste. They don't have that like bitter, like
Mm-hmm.
fire in your mouth taste. Brandies
Mm-hmm.
might be my new thing lately, but
It's also
if there's
why
a brandy
brandy,
that
I
I
think,
like,
is the reason why all the rich guys on the Titanic jumped ship first, because they couldn't handle the real liquor. So they're like, this is too much for
well,
me. I'm a brandy
well,
guy. I'm fancy.
well, if they were classified as brandy guys and they were rich, I will be right in line with the rich folk that were drinking brandy because I am all about
You're
it right
gonna
now.
you're gonna push my poor family out of the way from the boat. How dare
I have a
you?
child.
Oh, you think you're
I
better than me
have a
because you
child.
drink brandy.
Well, that's what I was drinking, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I always tell you when it comes to whiskeys, bourbons, sometimes they just smack me in the face a little too hard. I need to put a little bit of bitters, but brandies, they don't do that to me. I might be turning into a brandy kind of guy, but that is what I was drinking. JB, where can everybody find us?
People, you know the drill. You can find us, the podcast, Box Scores and Bourbon, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Additional content at BSB Sports 24 on TikTok, X, Instagram. Check us out there. Reply to us. Have conversations. We love being able to go back and forth. I'm not afraid to get dirty. I've had plenty of people not like my takes. And you know what? That just makes me happy. I sleep very well at night when people disagree with me. Okay? I don't want you agreeing with me unless you wholeheartedly do. But if you disagree with me, you disagree with Manny, please let us know. Please. It's what we live for. Oh, it's so tasty. Those morsels of sadness coming from you. Just let us. Just let us kind of take it all in. But folks, find us, follow us, chat with us.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, guys. Manny, close us out.
JB, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. Looking forward to our Super Bowl predictions, our college football
Mm-hmm.
predictions. We have baseball right around the corner. And once football ends, you know what that means. We have hockey on the horizon and baseball or
And
basketball in the
basketball.
horizon. That's right. Until then, cheers, everyone. We'll see you in the college football championship next week. Cheers.